Overwatch has not been looking too healthy recently, but back in 2016, this game was a thing that everybody wanted to play. Blizzard Entertainment, known for its legendary franchises like World of Warcraft and Diablo, decided to take a wild swing at the first-person shooter genre, and they pretty much nailed it. Similar to games such as TF2 and Paladins, but Overwatch just had something that its competitors didn't. It had everything enticing: colourful characters, fast-paced action, and enough lore to keep theory crafters busy for years. Players fell in love with the heroes and cosplayers went wild. Overwatch was a cultural phenomenon of its time, and even the esports scene blew up, with countries investing millions into their worldwide teams for Overwatch League. It was like Blizzard really had the golden touch. But like any good story, things eventually took a pretty dark turn. Now, before we talk about Overwatch's downfall, I guess we have to talk about Activision, because many people say that they have a part to play in this. So Blizzard used to be all about quality over quantity in the beginning, and it feels like they took their time making games and owning their craft. And I feel like it showed. But after merging with Activision in 2008, things started to change. Blizzard still had creative freedom at first, hence Overwatch being such a hit game, but Activision's influence grew stronger over time, and I guess they saw opportunities for Overwatch to potentially be making more money. It seems there was more pressure for profits, more focus on esports over casual players, and what probably pained players the most was the slower content updates, because resources kept getting pulled for other projects. This affected Overwatch big time. Instead of steady updates and fun events, the dev team was stretched extremely thin, content slowed to a crawl, and often there was little to no communication. And by 2019, Blizzard, and maybe Activision more so, had an idea. Instead of fixing the original game, why not just make a brand new one? And so in comes Overwatch 2. The second installment in the franchise was announced at BlizzCon in 2019, with promises of exciting PvE missions, better graphics, and a fresh start. And fans were obviously quite hyped. Then Blizzard just went off the grid for the next 3 years, constantly pushing release dates and removing once promised content from the game. It was a pretty bad time. And players started to really feel abandoned. By the time Overwatch 2 finally launched in 2022, excitement had turned into skepticism, and yeah, sure, it was free to play, but Blizzard replaced loot boxes with battle passes and ridiculously expensive skins. And sure, other games are already doing this, right? But it wasn't what the Overwatch fanbase already knew and loved the game for. Overwatch 2 also featured 5v5 gameplay instead of 6v6, and while some people enjoyed this, others complained that it was a change that was neither necessary nor ever asked for. And since then, the game has been experimenting with putting 6v6 back into the game by means of temporary game modes. So like, what even is Overwatch 2 anymore, except for some new maps and like some new characters? Oh, and the PvE mode, which was supposed to be the main selling point of Overwatch 2, they just scrapped. Just said, we can't do it, guys, I'm sorry, we're not doing that anymore. But instead of a big co-op campaign, we got a handful of missions, although they were pretty fun for me at the time. Felt like a desperate bid to claw something close to their original promises back. And even worse than that, players had to pay, I think it was a $15 fee to unlock these co-op missions that they made in place of something with a huge PvE focus, with skill trees and all this other stuff that was just annoyingly scrapped. It's hard to pinpoint what exactly was to blame when Overwatch started going downhill, but if you look it up, the main conclusions are when Jeff Kaplan, the original lead director of Overwatch and vice president of Blizzard, decided to leave the company back in 2021. Many theorize his decision to leave was down to creative differences in his ideas for what the Overwatch franchise was to become, and I guess no one will ever know for sure except him and Blizzard, but it's safe to say the internet thinks he didn't agree with the changes that were being made. Other than this, the release of the hero Brigitte, I think that's how you say it, like, I just don't know how you say it at this point, who was introduced to somewhat counter the dive meta in game, which undeniably just ended up bringing more balance issues until things gradually just got completely out of hand. If we're speaking generally though, there are many reasons, and all of these things are just changes that brought more problems than solutions. It's also important to note that Activision was involved in lawsuits involving sexual harassment, discrimination, and workplace culture in 2021. This was covered widely on the internet, and more than 20 employees ended up leaving the company. Activision Blizzard also faced another lawsuit for something else pretty horrendous that I'm not sure is safe to cover in the video without trigger warning. However, if you're interested in finding out more info about this, you can just Google handle it. And the result of all of this was that a lot of long-term fans lost faith, and people that weren't long-term fans really wanted nothing to do with them. While Blizzard was busy fumbling the bag, a strong contender entered the scene, Marvel Rivals. I'm sure you might have heard about this game. Now, when this game was first announced, people were skeptical, drawing similarities between a game that already didn't have the best track record. But then the gameplay dropped, and suddenly it all just made sense. It has recognizable heroes, quite literally the world-famous Avengers, and many more Marvel characters, all with unique abilities and playstyles. It has great feeling combat, destructible environments, extra team-up abilities, and fast-paced gameplay. So far, NetEase, the studio that are behind Marvel Rivals, has actually been listening to feedback. They engage with the community and push out updates fast and respond to changes that the players actually want. For example, they came up with a crazy idea to do a mid-season rank reset, and when the players voiced their annoyance, they reverted the decision pretty much immediately. But Marvel Rivals isn't just trying to be Overwatch 2.0, it is taking the best parts of hero shooters and making them better and hopefully more sustainable. Why is Marvel Rivals currently winning the war though? Aside from the fact that it is a new exciting title, it already has a built-in fan base. People already love Marvel characters. It's way easier to get people hyped for Wolverine than a potential new Overwatch hero when you're only enticed by character design and abilities rather than the long-standing lore that Marvel characters have. And there have been frequent updates. Where Blizzard sometimes takes months to drop a new hero, Marvel Rivals is way faster at its current time. And there is better monetization. Why can't I say that word? And there is better monetization tactics. Every free-to-play game has microtransactions, right? But Marvel Rivals actually makes them feel optional instead of removing previously free features and replacing them with monetized versions. There is a lot of gameplay variety with team-up abilities, destructible maps. These small yet effective features make for more fun chances to pull off some really fun plays. In recent past, Blizzard has been in the news for all of the wrong reasons, and I guess never say never, or there is always time for things to change, but right now players don't really have too much reasonable doubt in NetEase. Why do I say that word so horribly? So is Overwatch completely dead? Not yet. Blizzard is still releasing updates. Actually, there has been a huge change in developments. At the very end of December 2023, Bobby Kotick left Activision. He was the CEO for 32 years, and he has been accused of being the reason that games were turning into crap. With many employees coming out on Twitter to talk about how Bobby could have aided the team in the backlash response of Overwatch 2's Steam release. They literally got review bombed to hell and is one of the worst rated games on Steam. But Bobby apparently refused to help. Now Bobby is gone and it's been just over a year. Overwatch 2's newest update is more promising than previous ones. New character, new game modes, perk systems, and the return of the ever-loved loot boxes. Honestly, they've implemented some really interesting changes, and I haven't played Overwatch since Marvel Rivals came out, despite having well over 1,000 hours in the game. However, I'm definitely going to be putting aside some time to have a look at what Season 15 is going to bring, so there is hope after all. Don't get me wrong, it's not all doom and gloom though. A lot of this video has been focused on the negative, and I've discussed a lot of things that Overwatch did wrong. But they still have a pretty strong player base despite now having a competitor, and a lot of people, including myself, still think it's a great game. It's pretty hard to pinpoint the exact numbers between Steam, the Blizzard launcher, and console, but it seems that Overwatch has lost a percentage of its player base recently. I don't doubt that they have the potential to bring some of them back. Meanwhile though, Marvel Rivals is rising fast. It is currently the go-to hero shooter. In a way, Overwatch players and fans such as myself should be thankful for a game like Marvel Rivals that are finally giving Overwatch the contender that they needed to push themselves in the right direction. And the more Overwatch proves itself, we could start to see a universe where both games actively coexist and continue to bring players the value they want. Thank you for watching this video, guys. As always, leave your thoughts down below, and I will see you in the next one.